Hello, this is Mark Smith with Family Tree Counseling Associates, and I am going to be speaking today on a video I've entitled Some Tasty Morsels from Healing Toxic Shame Through Recovery. My book on shame will be out next week, probably next Sunday, and it's all done, and there are the links added and the photos added, and my assistant, who's multi-talented, Nancy Eisman, is laying it out and preparing it to be digitalized and put online. So I wanted to give everybody a little peek at the book and some of the content of the book. I started writing this book last Valentine's Day. I'd taken a trip to Florida specifically to get some work done on the book, and I took subsequent trips to probably about 4 times. I've got this little writing retreat in Louisville, and several times I ducked out to local hotels. That's just me. I can write better if I'm just hiding away from the world. I wanted to share a quote about writing. All good writing is built one good line at a time. You build a book the same way you do a pyramid. One word, one stone at a time, underneath a full moon, while your fingers bleed. I can attest to the truth of that quote. This has been a long, arduous process. The book is probably going to be in the neighborhood of about 175, 180 pages. There are 64 links to videos, blogs, movie clips, music, poetry, articles, and mainly YouTube videos. But I just thought in that way the experience of reading the book will be multimedia, and you can read for a while, listen to a little music, watch a video, read some more, read some poetry, watch another movie clip. I just think that's more of a modern way to to experience a book these days. So what I'm going to do here today is I am going to read 5 medium-length quotes from the book, from my writing, just to give you a little tasty morsel. Because I do want you, next Sunday, I do want you to download the book and read it. So here we go. Shame is birthed when we are consistently exposed to rage, criticism, judgment, perfectionism, toxic religion, control, abuse, and/or toxic family secrets. We take in a harsh and negative voice that we heard growing up, usually of either your father or your mother, and then it becomes our own internal harsh negative voice, or one that we reserve for our spouse when we're fighting, or our children. But we use this harsh verse unmercilessly on ourselves and on the people we love the most. Quote number 2, shame is a painful internal sense of self-contempt, unworthiness, and self-derision. You can see how this could certainly contribute to a very fragile ability to hear and receive critiquing. But as soon a person with a great deal of internal shame, they have difficulty when the criticism hits their eardrums, because it gets magnified and it gets turbocharged. Instead of a joke, it's a put down. Instead of a whisper, it's a shout. Instead of an observation, it's a vicious attack worthy of an equally vigorous counterattack. That's what shame does. It's internal darkness and misery, but it also will really goof up your filter between you and anybody who's critiquing you. Quote number 3, my experience through the years of 28 years of being a therapist has taught me that without a doubt, our society's number one mental health public enemy is shame. While abandonment issues are much more explosive, shame is ever present. Shame relentlessly drives people to drink, use drugs, numb themselves out on addictive sex, overwork, sabotage themselves, cut themselves off from relationships that they valued, punish themselves, seek out abusive relationships, isolate themselves, live in a cloud of depression, and ultimately, with many people, some people, it drives them even to take their own lives. Shame is a dark, harmful, negative energy that most people have a good bit of. Quote number 4, virtually everyone has some pockets of toxic shame. Most of us have vast storehouses of the stuff. One of the most rewarding aspects of being a therapist is seeing that ugly, wicked, destructive shame slowly lifted off and evaporate from many of my very sincere, open-hearted, insightful, and hard-working clients. It's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing to see. The thing about shame is it heals. I wrote the book Managing Abandonment Through Recovery because you're not going to heal a lot of abandonment. It's too deep, it's too primitive. You can live a life that's not dominated by abandonment, thank goodness, but shame does have a tendency to be able to heal slowly over time as you do your work and cry your tears and talk about where these negative messages come from. The final quote goes like this: the most difficult challenge with shame-based communications comes when one or both of the combatants has no clue whatsoever that they're suffering from dysfunctional, turbocharged overreaction to feedback and critiquing. They sincerely believe that what they're taking in is what was said and what was meant. And then they're counterattacking accordingly in what seems like a very reasonable and an appropriate manner. There's very little listening, there's very little hearing, and there's very little respect going on. If couples truly understood shame and projection, they could practice listening better and turning the other cheek during marital battles. So that's some of the messages of the book. Like I say, there's going to be 125 or 175, 180 pages, but that's the kind of stuff I'll be covering. The book is broken down in 4 sections, very much like the book that I wrote on abandonment. In part 1, what's addressed is what is toxic shame, and I'll cover sort of a broad look at many of the different faces of shame. I'll give several concise definitions. I'll give you a list of 26 characteristics of shame. There'll be a strong focus on the childhood roots of shame, and there'll be an in-depth discussion of how shame impacts communications in relationships. There'll be some original poetry by myself. It's not great. It's not great. I'm not going to win any writing awards on my poetry. Trust me on that. But it's heartfelt. There's dialogue from a movie scene. There's a section describing how shame serves as rocket fuel for addictive behaviors. And then I included some of my popular, my blog's called Relationship Jazz. And there are blog posts that I share on shame around issues of shame around finances, shame around divorce. As I said, there's some poetry. There's a blog I share about the very talented leader in this field, Brené Brown. I discuss such topics as self-banishment, shame, and then, as I mentioned, the communication, miscommunication that happens due to shame, and shame as a result of being labeled a crazy person. So there's also a chapter that I included by one of our therapists here at Family Tree, Kathy Henry, LCSW, and she has a chapter on how I was saved from shame, and she's very good. She's a very good writer. I just wanted to give her a little bit of publicity, and I wanted to expose my readers to her talent. In part 2, there are clinical examples, and the best way to heal from shame and get a grip on your shame as well as get a grip on your abandonment is having more and more and more insight. And I will go into great depth about the struggles, the nightmares, the demons of 17 different clients. And so, some of the clients are couples, some of them are individuals. But there are 17, and I disguise them very well. You won't know who it is. I change up the story to protect the stories and to keep confidentiality. But you'll learn a lot. Many people come in and they know about shame, they know about abandonment, but then they have a shame reaction or abandonment reaction, and it's a little bit subtle, and they don't see the connection. And that's what the book will help you to do, is you'll just have light bulb after light bulb after epiphany, and it will help you understand the nature of shame by hearing the other person's stories. Reading this book is going to be a little bit like group therapy, this section, because you're going to be in a group of peers who also suffer from shame, as most of you do as well. In part 3, I discuss my own struggle, my own experiences with toxic shame. And I got quite a list of things, from growing up with a raging, harsh, sometimes cruel mother, to poverty, to moving a lot, just to some difficult, bad circumstances that happened to me growing up. And again, you learn by hearing about other people's struggles. That is one of the best ways that people can learn, is to learn by hearing about other people's struggles. So I hope that part is helpful. I tell my clients that it's really helpful for me as a therapist to be screwed up in so many different ways. It makes me multifaceted and multi-talented, because I can understand shame, I can understand addiction, I can understand divorce. I can understand financial shame. There's I cover a lot of ground, and that's my family that I grew up in. So part 4 is a discussion of the recovery process as it pertains to healing toxic shame. And I don't say, here's the treatment program. I'm not going to give anybody a treatment program. I'm not going to give you 10 steps. You'll have less shame when you're more healthy. You'll get more healthy as you cry a lot of tears and learn a lot of truth, and to have that insight sort of tattooed onto your soul. That's when you'll get the relief that you're looking for from your shame. So in part 4, I'll just sort of go over the nuts and bolts of successful shame recovery work. Thank goodness shame gets better. You'll always have some shame if you grew up being shamed, or if you grew up being overly controlled or raged at. But you can mellow, you can soften, you can learn how to be more generous and kind and gentle with yourself. So, as I said, there are 64 links when you download this book as a PDF file. You'll be reading along, and then I'll send you to a video by Jerry Wise, who's a very talented therapist who's made 60 or so videos on our YouTube channel, or I'll send you away to an article written by Patrick Carnes, or an interview about Patrick Carnes, or I have made, this is the 15th video that I've made about shame, so I use those links and I send you to all 15 of the videos that I've made about shame. So, as I said, the book is going to be released on or before Sunday, February the 16th. I still have quite a few tasks to achieve before that can happen, but they seem to be achievable, and coming my way, so coming your way. So thank you so much for listening and watching. There's a gun salesman who has a big gun range and gun store, and he used to be famous around here. He'd say, I don't really want to, what was the phrase? I don't really want to make money. I just want to sell guns, because he was passionate about guns. And the reason I want to sell this book is I know it'll help so many people all around the world. The beautiful thing about the abandonment book is I've sold books in probably 30 different countries. And I'll wake up in the morning and somebody in Belize or Canada or Australia or Great Britain will have downloaded a book, and that's just exciting. And I do think that the book will help a lot of people. It'll heal your shame, help to heal your shame, and make you a more entitled individual in a healthy way with higher self-esteem and better boundaries. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the little tasty morsels from healing toxic shame through recovery. You'll be hearing from me. I do want you to check out the book starting next Sunday. And also check out our YouTube channel, Family Tree Counseling, and our website, familytreecounseling.com. There are 5 other books that are for sale, including the book on abandonment. So I do hope that you'll learn to be kind and gentle and gracious with yourself and with your loved ones as you heal your shame through your recovery process. Enjoy the Super Bowl tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to it. And we'll talk with you soon. Thank you.